How does the government deal with moles or spies of foreign powers in its highest positions, like the Politburo or in the cabinet? Is it possible to guard against such moles, or is it a matter of luck? Okay, we'll take the first question first. How does the government deal with traitors, moles? A mole is a person who is embedded in your country, in your government apparatus, and who is working towards serving the interests of an enemy nation or another nation. And at the same time, he or she is compromising your national security. That's a mole. It's a spy. It's a traitor. Now ask yourself this very simple question. During the days of the great Chandragupta Maurya and Vishnugupta Chanakya, what was the punishment for high treason? High treason means treason against the nation, against the civilization. Very simple answer: death penalty. If you betray your nation, the only punishment is death. That's what we had historically, not just during the time of Chanakya and Vishnugupta and Chandragupta Maurya, but always. Many things can be forgiven, many transgressions can be forgiven, or given lenient punishments. But if you betray your nation, there's only one punishment. Historically, it has always been that. Not just in Bharat, not just in India, it's been the same everywhere. And in the UK, in England, they had even worse punishment than death. It was called hanging, drawing, and quartering. Have you watched the movie Braveheart? Well, the final sequence in Braveheart is an example of somebody being hanged, drawn, and quartered. That's what they did to William Wallace. I have been there. I have been to the Tower of London. I've held the spike on which his head was eventually kept. Anyway, I'm digressing. The Historically, the punishment for treason, high treason, has been death. That's what governments historically did. But today we have all kinds of laws and stuff. So I don't know. But now the question is, okay, forget about what punishment you give them. Maybe you give them life imprisonment or whatever. But how can you guard against such moles? Can you guard against traitors? So let's take the example of China. Since around 2010, the Chinese systematically identified every single traitor who was embedded in the Chinese Communist Party and who was working for the United States. And each of these traitors was identified, apprehended, and neutralized, let's say. Every single one of them. And that's how the US lost its hold on China. And that's how China has become a completely sovereign nation. Now, look, spies exist in every nation. Every nation has spies embedded within. And India is not some special case. Indians have this very defeatist mindset that Indian culture and Indian people are the most treasonous people in the world. We have more traitors than anybody else in the world. No, it's not the case. Have you heard of the year of the spy in the US? Okay, I'll not put that on the screen, but Google the year of the spy. And how many spies were exposed in the US in just 1 year? Very high profile spies spying on behalf of the USSR. And the same thing happened in the UK. Lots of American spies were caught in Russia and so on, in the USSR. Spies exist everywhere. There's always a certain percentage of your population that is going to have these anti-national, criminal, and the treasonous tendencies. A small percentage of any population has this. So those are identified by foreign powers, and then they are utilized in this manner. So what do you do to guard against moles? You develop your counter-espionage capabilities. During the time of Chandragupta Maurya, Vishnugupta Chanakya, there were spies everywhere. The empire had spies everywhere. I'm not saying you need to become a police state and you need to have spies everywhere. But yeah, if you take your survival seriously, if you take your role as a great nation seriously, you need to have these capabilities, surveillance capabilities, and you need to know who can be compromised, who cannot be compromised. And there are certain signs and symptoms of a person who is more likely to be compromised. And I will not go into that because it is problematic. Look, it's easier to compromise somebody in government, in power, who has children who are living in a foreign country. Just a fact of life. It's easier to compromise somebody who's married to a person of foreign origin, and so on and so forth. So I'm just saying, I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. I'm not naming anybody. I'm just saying, typically, historically, generally, in a theoretical manner, that's how you know who to keep an eye on. And generally, such people should not even be in positions of power. But today, the world is a different place for a certain period of time. It will eventually revert to the old ways, maybe in a different way, but the old ways.